The federal courtroom was packed beyond capacity as Judge Tanya Chutkan took her seat behind the bench, her black robes flowing as cameras rolled for the historic live broadcast. The tension in the room was electric. Everyone knew this wasn't going to be an ordinary hearing. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett sat at the witness table, her navy blazer crisp, hands folded calmly as whispers filled the gallery. Just moments before the hearing began, word had leaked that Judge Chutkan was planning to issue a direct warning to Crockett about her recent statements regarding judicial independence. The media frenzy was instant, phones buzzing, reporters frantically typing, knowing they were about to witness something unprecedented. What happened next shocked everyone in that courtroom, witnesses would later say. Judge Chutkan didn't hold back, but Jasmine's response was something nobody saw coming. The cameras captured every second as Judge Chutkan leaned forward, her voice cutting through the silence like a blade. But what Congresswoman Crockett did next would break the internet within minutes and change how America views political confrontations forever. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any of these explosive political moments that are reshaping our nation. Now, let's see exactly what went down in that courtroom. The stage was set for a battle between two of the most powerful women in American politics, one wielding the gavel of justice, the other representing the voice of progressive change. Neither woman was backing down, and the entire country was watching. Judge Chutkan had arrived at the courthouse that morning with a thick folder of printed materials and a stern expression that court staff recognized all too well. She had clearly spent hours preparing for this moment, reviewing every statement Crockett had made about the federal judiciary over the past several weeks. Legal clerks whispered that they had never seen the judge so focused on a single case, so determined to make a point. Meanwhile, Congresswoman Crockett had entered through the courthouse's main entrance, surrounded by a small group of progressive activists who had come to show their support. Despite the crowd of reporters shouting questions, Crockett maintained her composure, offering only a brief statement. "I'm here to have a respectful dialogue about the important issues facing our judicial system." The courtroom itself was a study in contrasts. On one side sat conservative legal scholars and federal prosecutors, many of whom had been calling for someone in authority to address what they saw as dangerous attacks on judicial independence. On the other side, progressive activists, civil rights attorneys, and young lawmakers filled the benches, ready to support their champion in what they viewed as a fight for accountability. Security was unusually tight, with additional federal marshals positioned throughout the courtroom. The unprecedented nature of this confrontation, a sitting federal judge directly challenging a member of Congress in open court, had created concerns about potential disruptions. The gallery was filled to capacity, with an overflow room set up to handle the additional spectators and media personnel. As Judge Chutkan called the hearing to order with 3 sharp raps of her gavel, the room fell into complete silence. Even the court reporter seemed to hold her breath as the judge's eyes swept across the packed courtroom before settling on Congresswoman Crockett. The moment everyone had been waiting for was finally about to begin. Judge Tanya Chutkan had built her reputation as one of the toughest federal judges in the country. Born in Jamaica and raised in Philadelphia, she worked her way through law school and spent decades climbing the judicial ladder. At 62, she commanded respect in every courtroom she entered. Her track record was crystal clear. She didn't play favorites, didn't bend to political pressure, and had zero tolerance for anyone who challenged the authority of the federal court system. Chutkan had been appointed to the federal bench over a decade ago and had presided over some of the most high-profile cases in recent history. She was known for her sharp questioning, her ability to cut through legal nonsense, and most importantly, her fierce protection of judicial independence. Legal experts called her uncompromising and fearless. Defense attorneys respected her fairness, while prosecutors knew she demanded excellence in her courtroom. Her chambers were lined with law books and legal precedents, but what stood out most was a framed copy of the Constitution prominently displayed behind her desk. Colleagues knew that Chutkan viewed herself as a guardian of constitutional principles, particularly the separation of powers that kept the judicial branch independent from political interference. Over the years, she had faced criticism from politicians on both sides of the aisle for various rulings. Conservative lawmakers had attacked her decisions on immigration cases, while progressive politicians had criticized some of her sentencing decisions. But Chutkan had never wavered in her belief that judges should make decisions based on law and precedent, not political pressure. Recent comments from progressive lawmakers had clearly struck a nerve with the judge, and those who knew her well could see the fire in her eyes as she prepared to address what she saw as a direct challenge to the federal court system. She had spent sleepless nights reviewing Crockett's statements, consulting with other federal judges, and preparing what many legal observers expected to be a blistering rebuke. Across the courtroom sat Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, a 43-year-old civil rights attorney who had taken Washington by storm since her election. Growing up in Missouri, Crockett had seen firsthand how the justice system could fail communities of color. She earned her law degree, spent years fighting for the underrepresented, and carried that same fighting spirit into Congress. Crockett's journey to Congress had been anything but typical. As a young attorney, she had taken on police misconduct cases that other lawyers wouldn't touch, representing families who had lost loved ones to excessive force. She had fought for criminal justice reform in state courts across the Midwest, winning cases that established new